Today, we call it Iran, but for 2,500 years, the world called it Persia. It was the civilization that taught the world what power really means. Not the power to destroy, but the power to endure. Then, one morning in 1935, every embassy in the world received the same letter. It was short, it was polite, and it changed history without firing a single shot. The letter said one thing: stop calling us Persia. Our name is Iran. And just like that, one of the most powerful civilizations in human history seemed to disappear overnight. No war, no invasion, no destruction, just a letter. But here is the question nobody ever asked: where did Persia go? Because a civilization that survived Alexander the Great, that survived the Arab conquest, that survived the Mongols, does not simply disappear because of a letter. Persia did not disappear. It never disappeared. It transformed. The way it had always survived. The way it had always adapted. The way it had been transforming for 2,500 years. This is not the story of a name change. This is the story of the most resilient civilization in human history. And the question at the heart of it has never been fully answered. What is Persia really? To answer that, we have to go back, further than 1935, further than any empire you were taught in school, all the way back to where it all began, who Persia really was. To understand what disappeared in 1935, you first have to understand what Persia actually was. Most people think of carpets, poetry, exotic markets. They are thinking too small. Travel back to the second millennium before Christ. The Iranian plateau was home to nomadic peoples who spoke Indo-European languages. Not Arabic, not Turkish, something far older. In their language, Mudar meant mother, Pidar meant father. Echoes you can still hear today in Latin and Greek. From this plateau, two peoples rose. The Medes, powerful, organized, the dominant force of their time, and the Persians, settled further south in a region called Fars, quieter, smaller, overlooked. Nobody watching them then could have imagined what was coming. A man was born who would change everything. His name was Kurosh. The world would know him as Cyrus the Great. He conquered half the known world, and then he let it keep being itself. That was the genius of Persia. It did not erase the world, it absorbed it. Cyrus protected the temples of conquered peoples, honored their gods, made them feel not defeated, but liberated. For the Jews exiled in Babylon, he was the man who sent them home. Under Cyrus and Darius I, the empire stretched from the Indus River to the Aegean Sea. Modern historians call it something even more striking: the world's first superpower. But no superpower lasts forever, and the push that broke this one came riding from the west. The man who admired his enemy. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed the Hellespont heading east, not yet 30 years old. His goal? To humiliate Persia, to avenge Greece, to become a legend. He succeeded at all three. The Achaemenid Empire collapsed under the assault of one young man with the ambition of a god. But the most surprising part was not his victory. It was what he did the morning after. Alexander did not destroy Persia. He stood in the ruins of the greatest empire the world had ever seen, and instead of destroying it, he began to become it. He married Persian princesses, wore Eastern robes, preserved the Persian bureaucracy, called himself the legitimate successor of the Achaemenid kings. For his Greek generals, this was unforgivable. But Alexander understood something they did not. Ruling a civilization this deep, this ancient, this rooted, was not a matter of swords. It was a matter of becoming it. He did not want to rule Persia. He wanted to fuse it with Greece and rule something greater than both. Then, at just 32 years old, the man who had conquered the known world died in a foreign palace, and the empire he had stitched together tore itself apart. Persia did not die with Alexander. It slipped back into the soil, into its mountains, into its memory, and it waited for its next awakening. The disguises begin. After Alexander, Persia passed through hands like a stolen crown. The Seleucids, the Parthians, the Sassanids. But do not mistake this for quiet survival. The Parthians humbled Rome. The Sassanids rebuilt an empire that rivaled Byzantium. This was a civilization refusing to be forgotten. Until the 7th century, when something arrived from the Arabian Peninsula no empire had ever faced before. Not just a rival empire, a rival worldview. Islam did not arrive as a guest. It came as a conqueror. For the first time in its long history, Persia did not just lose a crown, it lost its language of power. And yet, the Persian soul absorbed Islam the way it had absorbed every conquest before, taking what it needed, keeping what it could not afford to lose, making the new thing Persian. The Arabs brought Islam, but it was Persian scholars who shaped its philosophy, Persian poets who refined its language, Persian administrators who strengthened its empires. Persia was not just surviving, it was reshaping the conquerors from within. Then came the Mongols. They burned cities, shattered libraries, slaughtered scholars. They thought they had erased Persia. They were wrong. While beneath the surface, the core endured. Until the Safavids arrived, and this time, Persia would not just adapt to a religion, it would redefine one. The Safavid Transformation. The Safavids made a decision that would separate Persia from every neighbor it had forever. Twelver Shia Islam became the official state religion. Communities were uprooted, scholars were silenced, traditions were rewritten. But in doing so, they fused faith with nationality and forged something new. A Shia heart in a Sunni world. For the first time in 1,000 years, Persia was not just surviving history, it was shaping it. Cities rose, tiled in turquoise and gold, so beautiful that travelers wrote of them as if they were dreams. A Persian culture so refined that even its former conquerors had to admire what they had failed to destroy. And quietly, a name returned, Iran, derived from the ancient word Arianum, meaning the land of the noble peoples. But outside, the world still called it Persia. And so a duality was born. One name carried its ancient glory, the other carried its living reality. That gap between how the world saw Persia and how Persia saw itself would not stay hidden forever. Because a new monarch would decide it was finally time to close that gap with a letter. Iran. And so Persia disappeared from the map without a single battle being fought, without a single drop of blood being spilled. Just a letter. It would take decades for the world to adjust. Many never fully did. For the first time in 2,500 years, the greatest question was no longer, can Persia survive conquest? It was, what does survival even mean? 1979, and the final transformation. For 40 years after 1935, the name Iran slowly settled into the world's consciousness. Maps were redrawn. Textbooks were rewritten. diplomats adjusted. But the image the world carried of this ancient land was still being negotiated. Under Reza Shah's son, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, Iran modernized at a speed that astonished the world. Oil wealth transformed the country. Universities filled with students. Cities filled with ambition. Western fashion walked the streets of Tehran. For a moment, it seemed like Iran had answered the question. Survival meant modernization. Survival meant westernization. Survival meant leaving the past behind. But Persia had never left anything behind. Not truly. Because beneath the modernization, beneath the oil wealth, beneath the Western suits and the gleaming new buildings, something ancient was stirring. A civilization that had absorbed every conqueror, that had reshaped every religion that touched it, that had survived Alexander, the Arabs, the Mongols, was about to do what it had always done: transform itself on its own terms. In 1979, a revolution shook Iran to its foundations. It was not just a political uprising, it was a civilizational statement. Led by Ayatollah Khomeini, the monarchy was swept away. The Islamic Republic of Iran was born. Everything seemed to change overnight. New laws reshaped public life. Religious authority moved to the center of political power. Relations with the West collapsed completely. The revolution became identity. And the world's perception of Iran changed forever. Where once the name Iran had been chosen to project modernity, it now carried something heavier: geopolitical tension, sanctions, conflict. A country increasingly defined abroad by headlines rather than history. And here, in the great irony of history, Persia returned. Not as a country, not as a government, but as a feeling. Persia became the word the world used when it wanted to remember what Iran used to be. When it wanted the carpets and the poetry and the ancient glory without the complexity of the present. Iran became the word for the news. Persia became the word for the dream. Two names, one land, and a civilization still deciding how it wants to be remembered. But here is what both names carry, what neither headline nor history book has ever fully captured. This is a civilization that has been conquered, converted, renamed, revolutionized, and still it endures. Not because it was the strongest, not because it was the most powerful, but because it understood something no conqueror ever did. Identity is not what others call you. Identity is what survives after they stop calling you anything at all. Today we call it Iran, but somewhere beneath that name, Persia is still present, still breathing, beneath every transformation. And perhaps that is the most Persian thing of all, to never disappear, only to transform. If this story changed how you see the world, leave a comment below. Tell us, which name do you use, Persia or Iran, and why? Because sometimes the most important conversations start with a single word. If you want more stories like this, stories buried beneath the world you think you know, subscribe to Lightwill Global. Hit the notification bell so you never miss what history forgot to tell you. We will see you in the next story.